This is March. There is madness, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Quinnipiac has experienced it all. For the next 30 minutes, we catch you up on the latest in Quinnipiac athletics. Sports Paws starts right now. Good evening and welcome inside Studio 125. We thank you for joining us tonight. My name is M.J. Baird, and while students were away on spring break, the student athletes here at Quinnipiac were competing in conference postseason tournaments. Let's catch up on how each team did in the playoffs. We start with women's basketball. The two-time defending conference champions were at it again last weekend in search of a three-peat. Trisha Fabry and her Bobcats took the MAC by storm once more. Quarterfinals, check. The Bobcats defeated in-state rival Fairfield 63-48. The Bobcats led the game from opening tip to final buzzer. Aaron McClure paced the Quinnipiac offense with 15 points and 6 assists. Jen Fay and Brittany Martin also scored in double digits with 13 and 12 respectively. And on to the semifinals. Check. Quinnipiac ran Monmouth out of the building, winning by 38 points to advance to the title game. The Bobcats led by as many as 47 points in the game. Brittany Martin led all scorers with 17 points. 3 other Bobcats scored in double digits: Jen Fay, Paula Stroutmanet, and Taylor Hurd. And what's next? The MAC championship? Well, checkmate. The Bobcats are going dancing once again. A 30-point margin of victory in the championship game over Marist was the largest in MAC. Here's some of the video, and there's what's at stake. It's the MAC championship trophy. How did Quinnipiac get it done? Well, it started with a 3-ball. Jen Fay, the first possession of the game, knocks that one down, puts Quinnipiac out to a 3-0 lead, and really, they wouldn't look back. Taylor Hurd this time for 3, and the Bobcats were rolling. Marist close in the early going here. You see Grace Vander Whitey with the 3-pointer. So throughout the second quarter, Marist was able to keep it close, but it was really in the second half into that fourth quarter where the Bobcats really took control of everything. You see the offensive rebound there from Paula Stroutmanet out to Edel Thornton for 3, and the Bobcats were really efficient on the offensive glass. You'll see here we'll head to the fourth quarter. Quinnipiac had pulled away at this point. A loose ball, Aaron McClure picks it up. Quinnipiac in transition now. McClure gonna dip it off for a 3-pointer. Now Thornton's 3 won't go. It's Jen Fay, gets her rebound, puts it up, no good. Gets her own rebound again, puts it up, and 1, the foul. She made the bucket. The Bobcat bench is happy, and that was really all it took as Quinnipiac celebrated in fashion. The Bobcats seniors, as you see them here, all on the sideline, ready to run on the court as the buzzer sounds, and there it is. The Bobcats three-peat as MAC. 3 NCAA tournament appearances in a row. 3 of those trophies now in Quinnipiac's gym. They're taking punch to the 29th NCAA tournament. All right, let's hear from these same MAC champions after their 3rd straight conference title.
They certainly care about cutting down the net, getting the rings, and advancing into the NCAA tournament more than they do individual accolades. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's amazing that these seniors, as juniors and seniors, and as sophomores, went to a Sweet 16, and individually they were not recognized.
I mean, it's awesome. Obviously, we've had a lot of success here over the years, but you know, to go out with a championship, I don't think there's any better way.
Well, after all the celebrations settled down, Bobcats awaited their seeding for the NCAA tournament. The selection show took place tonight, and the committee placed the Bobcats as an 11 seed in the Syracuse region. Quinnipiac's first-round opponent is South Dakota State University. Last year, the Bobcats were a 9 seed and lost in the second round to top-seeded UConn. Quinnipiac held a selection show watch party for tonight's show at the court up at the People's United Center. Our own Chris Dacey and Shane Dennehy were there. Shane Dennehy has a look at what happened.
The Quinnipiac women's basketball team is heading back to the big dance. This time, they're going to be an 11 seed in the Portland region and take on South Dakota State of the Summit League in the first round. Hear from head coach Trisha Fabry and her players on their reaction to the seeding, as well as ESPN's big mistake in revealing the bracket early.
But it certainly does, because you're not sitting at seeing that #1 overall in their second game. So the opportunity certainly is greater for the second game, but we need to take care of business for that first game.
I mean, it's not the best because you get really excited, especially when you see your name up there. So you get excited, you see your name, and then you see your plan, and then you see where you're going. So just for it to be revealed beforehand, I mean, took just a little bit of the fun out of it.
We're all pretty disappointed just the way it came out. But, I mean, we're going to the NCAA tournament. You can't be too upset about it. Stuff happens, I guess, but we're going to the NCAA tournament, going to Syracuse. It's going to be a good first game. Going to the tournament is just an awesome experience. So
I think it's good because obviously we played them 3 times this season, and they're not going to be the exact same. They're not going to run the same motion offense, but we have a pretty good idea of how Marist plays.
Another mid-major school, so hopefully it'll help us a little bit size-wise that we're not seeing a big Power 5 program right off the bat. But we know they're a great team, so we're going to prepare.
I had no idea with the acronym for them. But apparently they're similar to Marist, but bigger and better.
They play like Marist. Our coaches said that it's a little similar style to them, and we have played Marist 3 times this season. So I think that has actually really benefited us to prepare for this upcoming game.
The 11th-seeded Quinnipiac Bobcats will take on the 6th-seeded South Dakota State Jackrabbits on Saturday at 11 a.m. in the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York. Reporting from the People's United Center, Shane Dennehy, Q30 Sports.
Well, Shane and our own Dacey were up at tonight's selection show party, and they join us now live here on Sports Paws. Gentlemen, an 11 seed for the Bobcats. First thought when that reveal took place.
Thanks, MJ. And now we know where the women's basketball team is going. And they found out a little prematurely today after ESPN made a mistake by showing the bracket on ESPNU, and then it got on Twitter. And then they had an emergency show to release it at 5. They gave an apology. And what were some of the reactions from some of the players, Shane, after they found out a little bit earlier and then the original time at 7?
Yeah, Chris, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just disappointment. I mean, for these players. I mean, these players and coaches work so hard all throughout the year to get to this point, as MJ alluded to in the show. This is March. John Rothstein saying this is what they work for. And then they find out over social media who they're playing. And you have to feel for Quinnipiac. The atmosphere in here, it was like you're watching something. You know how it turns out. They were last bracket revealed, and they already knew how it ended. So it was just it was just awkward and uncomfortable. They knew how it was going to end, and just all these celebrations just forced. So it was just unfortunate for everyone involved to have it come out prematurely and these players not to be able to enjoy it as much as they would want to enjoy it.
Yeah, you saw Trisha Fabry address the crowd. She was kind of joking it off, trying to play it off jokingly, but you can tell that some of the players were disappointed. Well, we know that they're an 11 seed, and they're going to play South Dakota State. So what were the reactions, and what is your reaction to the seed they got, an 11 seed, going to Syracuse?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned is just women's basketball, when it comes to seeding, is so much different from the men. You just have these mid-majors getting these hot seeds, like South Dakota State being a 6 seed. You'd never see that in men's basketball. So it's so different. And to see Quinnipiac get an 11 seed, that's what Trisha Fabry said, that she thought that her team was on the 11 line at the end of after winning the MAC championship up in Albany last weekend. So I'm not really surprised, but looking at the bracketology, I wasn't really sure. They were said to be getting a 12 seed again, but when it comes to Quinnipiac, they've made a name for themselves in the NCAA tournament the past 3 years, winning 3 games. So you know they're going to put up a fight. No team wants to see Quinnipiac in their bracket. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup against a fellow mid-major with South Dakota State.
So now Quinnipiac fans aren't used to the MAC opponents, so mostly opponents here on the East Coast. Now Quinnipiac's going to play South Dakota State University. Some people may not even heard of them. So what do you know about South Dakota State? What is there to look for them?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. A lot of the players and coaches were saying that they were comparing South Dakota State to how Marist plays, which Quinnipiac has had a ton of advantages over and beating them very dominantly. I mean, winning by 30 points in the MAC championship game, unprecedented. So really it gives Quinnipiac a lot of opportunity and confidence going ahead. And also with South Dakota State being a mid-major, they don't have the size. So there's very similar with Quinnipiac. So Paula Startman being a big for Quinnipiac, she's not going to be facing 6'5" girls. So it's really a good matchup for Quinnipiac having another mid-major to go against.
So 2 mid-majors, they're going to play in Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. Awesome atmosphere there, as you can see in some of their games. So give us a quick prediction you have for that game.
I'm going to say Quinnipiac wins this against South Dakota State. I really think they're clicking on all cylinders. I wouldn't want to play this team now. They do tend to get out to slow starts, but that's because their out-of-conference schedule is so strong, and they're all clicking. Jen Fay's healthy after her little knee injury midway season. The 5 seniors are clicking, so I think they win this one.
All right, and another fun fact, because we love fun facts on the show, all 6 teams that Quinnipiac has lost to this year, all those 6 teams are in the tournament. So great out-of-conference competition this team has played. Nice little fun fact there. Shane, thank you. this is all we have from the People's United Center. NJ, let's go back down to main campus with you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. The Bobcats will be in Syracuse, New York this upcoming weekend. Q30 Sports will have all your coverage from Syracuse. All right, time for a quick break here on Sports Paws. But when we come back, it is the men's basketball team who is also in Albany at the MAC tournament, the number 2 seed, trying to get its chance at a conference title. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
While the women's basketball team advanced in the MAC tournament, the men's team looked to do the same. Head coach Baker Dunleavy won 2 games in the tournament last season, his first year as head coach, and looked to improve upon those numbers now in his second season. The Bobcats' first-round matchup was against Monmouth. Let's have a look at some of the action. The Times Union Center in Albany, we'll take you right to the first half. Quinnipiac and Monmouth. The three-pointer here, that's good from Jacob Rigoni. The Bobcats working the 3 early. Cam Young also from deep range, puts that one in. The Bobcats and Hawks going at it, but really the points in the paint, that's what really matters here. You see this one go in from Monmouth, and Diego Quinn was a big part of it. On the other end, it's Jacob Rigoni putting down another 3, but really inside is where Monmouth did most of its work. Quinnipiac, Cam Young doing a good shot at it there. Another 3 here, this time from Monmouth at the end of the half. That one would count. We'll take you to the second half. This is where Monmouth really started to dominate the game. Again, you see a 3-pointer here. That one goes in. Monmouth takes another lead later on. The jumper from 3. Polari puts it in. Now Monmouth comes back the other way. Points in the paint again. Diego Quinn inside. And 1 there for McClary. And then Monmouth getting it done in the paint again. Quinn picking up the rebound and putting it in. Quinnipiac just really did not have enough. Their press at the end of the game wasn't working. Monmouth goes on to win 98-92. After the game, Quinnipiac addressed the media. We'll hear from Baker Dunleavy after the game.
A dedicated effort to get there off of the drive, the post up, and the offensive rebound. Their physicality, I thought they were just they just had a great purpose to get there. It was a good game plan, and obviously that was their focus coming into this.
They just kind of started to double team a little more. They kind of did in the first half, and just kind of getting the ball out of my hands. So I was passing the ball and just working off my teammates at that point.
I think tonight we got to go back and look at our defense, and that's the disappointing part of this game. We probably had enough points to win the game, but we'll learn and grow from this.
That there, the Quinnipiac post-game press conference, but the one that got more attention after the game was actually Monmouth head coach.
I know sometimes there's these rules and MAC rules. I have a 7-year-old son that some grown men tried to tell me he can't be with his father right now. What kind of rule is that? When a 7-year-old can't be with his father in the biggest win of his season. We need to calm down, everybody, and let a kid be with his father. Let a father be with his son. You know how many nights he cries when we lost this year? You know how many times I had to put him to bed crying? What's wrong with the MAC sometimes? After the biggest win of the year, right? That's what this is about.
A powerful message there from Monmouth head coach King Rice after the game. Q30 Sports was actually able to catch up with the man that Rice mentioned. He mentioned a man named Rich. That's actually Rich Entzer, the MAC commissioner. Q30 Sports caught up to him during the event, and Entzer told us this, quote, "We have a security plan that is required for security reasons, but also for insurance and other things, where you need to be an authorized person to be in certain areas, whether it's a locker room or in the media area. For years and years, you can't have family members or fans or children for a lot of reasons. That's been there. The coaches know it." You can catch all of Rice's statement as well as the entirety of Rich Entzer's statement at Q30TV.com. This, again, gaining a lot of national attention, media outlets, as well as other coaches kind of just responding, some sticking up for Rice, others on the other end of it saying children have no place at the postseason press conferences. Post-game press conferences, rather. All right, Quinnipiac men's basketball, I just mentioned their MAC hopes came to an end, but their tournament hopes did not. The Bobcats played in that CIT, that's the collegebasketballinsider.com tournament. It's a postseason tournament, lower than the NCAA tournament, even lower than the NIT, but the Bobcats got a bid and did accept. They played against NJIT down in New Jersey tonight. Final score of this one was NJIT 92, Quinnipiac 81. Some quick stats for you for the Bobcats. Cameron Young had 29 points and 8 rebounds. That led all Quinnipiac scorers. Rich Kelly also had double figures with 11 points. But as for the NJIT side, leading all scorers in the game was Zach Cooks with 34 points and 6 rebounds. 2 other NJIT players in double figures as well. Shaquan Gibbs and DeAndre Wilson each had 15 points. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Sports Paws, but when we come back, Quinnipiac men's ice hockey was in the ECAC hockey quarterfinal round. We'll have all of that action for you right after this.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnuolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. Before we get to Quinnipiac men's ice hockey, we have our own Brian Schwartz on the line. He was at that CIT tournament against the Quinnipiac game against NJIT that I had just mentioned before the break. So, Brian, you're live with us on Sports Paws. How's it going, my man? And first of all, my first question for you, how was that game tonight?
Oh, MJ, it was not a good game for Quinnipiac. It was a great game for NJIT. Good game for the CIT to start off the tournament, but for Quinnipiac, it was disappointing. They got off to a cold start and just weren't able to come back from it. Cam Young ended up with 29 points somehow after he had a really poor first half scoring-wise. But, you know, Quinnipiac ends their season on a bit of a cold note, but...
So you got a chance to talk to, I'm sure, Baker Dunleavy after the game. What was kind of his message, his thoughts as his second season comes to an end?
Well, he told us that he was proud of his guys, that, you know, it's tough to play in a tournament like this. They knew that they were going to probably play in a postseason once they clinched their over 500 record for the regular season. But it was a tough game, and NJIT is a good team. They're in a solid mid-major conference, and it was a tough test for the Bobcats, but he was proud of his team, and he was proud of the way that his seniors led the team the entire season and that the way that they finished it off.
And Brian, of course, we kind of talked about it at the end of the MAC tournament. The Bobcats one and done's not really what they wanted. But speaking to these seniors, the senior class, what they've done for this program, the Robinsons, Abdoulaye Bundu, Cam Young kind of being that adopted member of this group. You know, what can you say about them now that the season is finally over?
I think one of the most telling things, MJ, was at the end of the game where Aaron Robinson came out of the game and Cam Young came out of the game. A couple seconds before the buzzer sounded, they all went down the line, hugged every coach and hugged every teammate on the floor, and that just shows what they meant to this team. They were more than just players on the court, obviously leaders off the court. The Robinsons and Abdoulaye Bundu have been around. They grew up together in this program, and they were all there for the switch when Baker Dunleavy took over this team. And Baker said after the game he was proud that they stuck around and they were able to hold the fort down as a new kind of program took into place, and they did a good job with it and made this into a winning program.
And Brian, of course, the question I think you're expecting, the future for this team, what does it look like? I mean, they're going to lose a couple of these guys, but a couple will be back as well. This is a young team. So what is the future of Quinnipiac basketball?
The future of Quinnipiac basketball is very bright, and I think that starts right at the top with Baker Dunleavy. I think he is building a foundation for this program to succeed over the long term, and that comes from the freshman class this year, and it comes also from guys that you didn't see this year, Matthew Blanc and Savion Lewis. They're going to be big parts of the team going forward, and they'll join a group with Tyrese Williams, with Ty Pickron, Rich Kelly, Jacob Rigoni, among others. Kevin Marfo, Travis Atson will be the veterans on next year's team, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the MAC and potentially making the NCAA tournament or even an NIT bid next year.
Well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Brian. That was my next question. Is this team a MAC championship contender? Could they make the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history next season?
I don't know if they will, but I think they are, again, going to be favored in the MAC conference in that top 4 or 5. I think losing Cam Young hurts a lot. Losing a guy like Abdoulaye Boundu hurts a lot, but they also have 2 7-foot freshmen coming in that'll help down low. And another year of Rich Kelly's development. Jacob Rigoni will only improve. And you got those young freshmen now turning into sophomores that will make a big impact on this team next year. So I think they will be in the running, and they'll be there in the end if they're a top 5 seed in the conference to win and get that automatic bid.
All right, Brian Schwartz live from NGIT. Brian, thank you so much for joining Sports Paws tonight. Have a good night, my friend.
All right, thanks, MJ.
All right, all season long, the Quinnipiac men's hockey team has been a top team in the nation. Quinnipiac got as high as number 4 in the national polls. The Bobcats won the conference regular season and were the top seed entering the ECAC hockey tournament after earning a first-round bye. Quinnipiac welcomed Brown to Hampden for the quarterfinal round series. Let's have a look. It's Friday night. Game 1, Bobcats versus Bears. Quinnipiac and Brown split the regular season series. The Bobcats won at Providence, and the Bears won in Hampden. All right, in the early going, Brown on a 2-on-1 chance, but Andrew Shortridge proving why he is one of the finalists for not only conference goalie of the year, but national goalie of the year. 2 great saves there with the right leg. We move on to the second period. Carlos Chuksta, not the offensive defenseman that many people think of, but he snipes there on the rush to give the Bobcats a 1-0 lead. They would carry that lead into the final period, and Andrew Shortridge, again, just bailing his team out. This one here at the very end of the second, again, proving his case why he thinks he should be the conference goaltender of the year. But look at this, 20 seconds left in the game. Brown with the extra attacker on, and they net one. It goes off the post and in by a screen out front. The Bears force overtime in game 1. And here we are to extra time now. The puck loose in the Bobcats zone. A rebound in front. Shortridge cannot get there on the right to left slide. That's Jack Gessert with the game-winning goal. So the Brown Bears take a 1-0 series lead into game 2. The Bobcats a little dejected, but they do get a chance. It's the best-of-3 series. So let's have a look at how they did in game 2. Now remember, the Bobcats without their captain Chase Prisky struggled in game 1 when they faced adversity. So how would they do in game 2? Well, let's see. Quinnipiac trying to punch its ticket to Lake Placid, a place they probably should be. But as for the Bears, they too are trying to get to Lake Placid for the first time in a long time. First period, Alex Whalen with the goal. That puts the Bobcats up 1-0. And Alex Whalen definitely came to play in this one. A rebound out front off the shot from William Falstrom. Whalen puts that one in, and the Bobcats lead this one 2-0. All right, 2-goal lead. You can't give that up at home against a number 8 seed, right? Well, think again. Start of the third period, Brown comes out on fire. They enter the offensive zone here. That shot in. Max Gottlieb gets the scoring started for the Bears. So it's a 2-1 game early on in the third. Just 30 seconds later, this one somehow squeaking through the legs of Andrew Shortridge. Tommy Martian gets the goal, and Brown has tied this game at 2. And this is where the wheels fall off the bus for the Bobcats. A breakaway here. Brent Bodwin puts that one in. That was right after the Brown Bears killed a penalty. Talk about a momentum boost. And later on, off a face-off, Brown puts another one in. This time, it's Tommy Martian again, his second of the game. Brown leads 4-2. Quinnipiac really struggling as we approach the final minutes of the third. This one, a shot from the point with the extra skater on. Looks like Alex Whalen gets the goal for the hat trick, but actually it goes to Craig Martin, who gets the goal credited in the official stats. The Bears hold on, win this one 4-3. They do the unthinkable, a 4-3 upset win over number 1 Quinnipiac. Here are the Bobcats players and coaches after the game.
Just an atrocious third period, probably our worst period of the year, and at a costly time. Brown was good, and we stunk. I don't know if I credit to anything. We stunk. Every player that we put out there just really had a bad period. You got a 2-goal lead at home. You got to put a team away. So it's disappointing.
It's a really resilient team. It's a team that totally believes that we're going to win a championship this year.
Now, since joining ECAC hockey in 2004, Quinnipiac men's hockey had a streak of winning at least one playoff series. This weekend's loss puts an end to that streak. 14 years straight comes to an end. This is the first time Quinnipiac fails to win any playoff series, and the first time Quinnipiac fails to win in Division I playoff series. That's 20 years. Also, the Brown upset marks the first time a number 1 seed lost in the quarterfinal round since 2011. Now, for Bobcat fans, Quinnipiac season is not over. They'll still make the NCAA tournament. The selection show is next Sunday, where the Bobcats find out their seed and opponent. All right, that's all for tonight on Sports Paws. Stay up to date on Quinnipiac Athletics postseason play right here on Q30 Television. Visit our website at q30tv.com and follow us on social media at Q30 Sports. For our entire production crew, I'm MJ Baird. So long from Studio 125. Good night.